How are you, everyone? My name is Tae Nam. I'm working for Graduate School of Governance, Sungkyunkwan University in Korea. Welcome to the third module, titled Preconditions of Data-Based Government. This module aims to help your understanding the conditions and antecedents of data-based government. The success of data-based administration cannot be guaranteed without necessary conditions. So we will know about what is those necessary conditions for data-based government. This module discusses those conditions and how government organizations strategically make them favorable for scientific administration. So we have four objectives from this module. First one is identify conditions of successful data-based government. And second, we will discuss consideration of data-based government. And third, we will understand key barriers and challenges. And finally, we will suggest strategic directions for overcoming challenges. So this module is structured to four sections in alignment with the objectives. The first chapter is conditions of successful data-based administration. And second, consideration of data-based government. And third, impediments and challenges. And finally, I will conclude with strategic directions. This is my own view of data-based administration. My previous article and published suggests this kind of four types of data-based administration. Actually, three cases are failure case, not successful case. So my criteria to evaluate data-based administration case are two. So data collected as an evidence. So there is a good data or bad data, right data or wrong data. That's the one axis. The other axis is methods. Methods generating evidence. Capability for procedural rationality, for example. Right method or wrong method. So if we have right data and right method, that is do the right thing right. That is a really good thing, scientific administration. And totally wrong case is we have wrong data and wrong method. I think that is do the wrong thing wrong. That is a total fiasco. And these two remaining things are very complicated because partly right and partly wrong. We have wrong data, but analysis method is right. Right method, but wrong data. That is called do the wrong thing right. That is data failure. And totally different thing is do the right thing wrong. We have right data, but we applied wrong method. That's the method of failure. So we need to care about these two things because do the right thing right, scientific administration case is already right. And do the wrong thing right is total fiasco. We cannot handle that. So these two things are kind of remaining assignment for us. What is good evidence? In this data-driven administration age, what is or what should be good evidence? These six things are very important criteria. Appropriateness, integrity, accountability, contestability, transparency, and deliberation. These six criteria are very important standards of good evidence. Let me introduce a failure case of data-based decision in World War II. In World War II, the statistician Abraham Wald took survivorship bias into his calculation when considering how to minimize bomber losses to enemy fire. The statistical research group at Columbia University, which Wald was a part of, examined the damage done to the aircraft that had returned from missions and recommended adding armor to the areas that showed the least damage. The bullet holes in the returning aircraft represented areas where a bomber could take damage and still fly well enough to return safely to base. But actually, the director or the boss of the air base, actually, at the very first time these kind of the aircraft were returned, his reaction was very wrong. So this is called survivorship bias or survival bias, logical error of concentrating on the people or things that made it past some selection processes and overlooking those they did not, typically because of their lack of visibility. So we have the same data actually, but our viewpoint is different. Data-based decision will be misleading. This is one case of failure. Data-driven government can be considered as a game changer for anti-corruption. There are two ways to explain that: big data and open data. Okay, big data itself is very important, but if big data is not open data, that is also a problem, which means only government dominates the big data. So big data should be open data. The big data and open data is a complementary concept, very important. Big data characterized by volume, velocity, and variety, and many other characteristics. Propelled by digital revolution, we already talked about the first module. Open data, government have introduced freedom of information laws and web portals, granting citizens the right to request and access government information. And in enacting data transparency laws often takes courage from reform-minded governments, and enforcing them is a challenge. Information is power. These two things should be synthesized. That is the power. But big data and open data, plus big and open data, is not an anti-corruption panacea. We need to have some considerations to fully exploit data for the fight against corruption. For example, anti-corruption analytics requires good data and analytical capabilities. As I mentioned earlier in the first slide, there will have a good method and good data, right data and right method. Analytics must be able to rely on good data. That is the important thing. Important word: garbage in, garbage out. Jewelry in, jewelry out. So good data comes in, and then good results comes out. That is a very important principle. And to have an impact, anti-corruption analytics must be enmeshed with country's integrity system. There are some considerations in data used for anti-corruption. Anti-corruption analytics must themselves be transparent. They have a very interesting word. Anti-corruption analytics that themselves also should be transparent. Because sometimes algorithm is not known well. Algorithm should be also transparent. So we must make algorithm accountable. Corporate data, a largely neglected frontier in the transparency realm, because only public data and government-held data should be open. But corporate data must also be opened for anti-corruption. Consideration as a business case. There are some benefits, and we need to think about in this way. Do we have benefits? If not, this case is not good. If we have, this case is good. So this is also criteria. So agencies should consider, do we have financial benefits from data-driven insights? And do we have efficiency benefits? And do we have effectiveness benefits? And do we have some benefit regarding risk mitigation? So this data-driven administration mitigates risk, and we can track outcomes. These can be considerations. And we need to have some use case, especially some prepared and demonstrative stage of data-based government. The first steps are to prepare the data systems and the people. So we need to have the selection criteria defined by design thinking method. There are three important selection criteria: desirability, viability, and feasibility. Desirability: will the insights gained have a meaningful social impact? Viability: will the insights gained deliver a significant economic impact? And feasibility: is it possible to overcome the challenges associated with the data access, data query, or data fog? These three things are very important selection criteria of use case of data-driven, data-based government. But we are actually facing some barriers, obstacles, impediments. The first one is, as you can guess well, privacy issues. Citizen, personal privacy, information privacy, internet privacy. Governments are actually collecting huge amounts of data with increased precision from a vast set of sources. And this offers, as we know, significant opportunity, but also is a potential ethical dilemmas for policymakers on data protection and the use of the data. So many countries, some countries, so civil society have big opposition to government use of big data, personal data. So digital privacy is top of mind. People want to know who has their data, who controls how that information is gathered, used, and shared. There's the human rights as a citizen in the internet. Second barrier is data sharing. Data sharing is also become a challenge in that the government data holdings are often siloed within and across agencies and can be difficult to access. Traceability is also a key barrier. As privacy and ethical issues increase, leading to the need for greater transparency and traceability to create trust in the technology itself and the organization that use the data connected with it. Identify where transparency and traceability are weak in the organization and define a plan to improve the situation by educating staff and applying industry best practices, including auditability, explainability, accountability, and algorithm validation and testing, openness and redress. Cybersecurity is a barrier. Cybersecurity protection must be addressed in the complex environment of government. The confidence in the government system and process requires high level of capability that ensures the safe operation and the services. Think about the hackers, the impact of hackers. So government needs to monitor what hackers' movement next in the future will be. The more complex system, we have, the more concerns we have in terms of cybersecurity. That is a natural situation. Data management. More specifically saying, data quality management. For example, duplication, incompleteness, inconsistency, inaccuracy. These are typical problems of the data. We have a bunch of data, mountains of data, which means we have mountains of concerns too in terms of data quality issues. Big data in government have great challenges. In practice, very critical challenge is undermanned IT teams and outdated systems. So technical systems are outdated and old, and also human resource, the IT managers, they are unequipped or just lack of people. This is a very prevailing problem, not only in developing countries, but also developed countries too. Data quality issues and data integration challenges. Teams should be fully prepared for collaborative, careful, and informed process if trying to build a robust data pipeline. The challenge of integration remains in many agencies, even those committed to modernizing and adopting big data technologies. Budget issues. Simply saying, there is a lack of budget. There is a paucity of budget. Budgets in governments or the public sector are regulated more rigidly than in businesses. And also many powerful platform services and new products and new applications, these needs money. These are pricey, expensive. There is a danger that agencies abandon data migration efforts when faced with these kinds of incompatibility to their typical financing. Another challenge of big data in government is security and system vulnerability. As the volume, sources, and public interest in data grows, the governments are discovering they face increased risk of security issues. We have more and more data. We have more and more concerns of security and systems, especially system vulnerability. Cybersecurity issues. More fundamental political and administrative challenge is culture, politics and culture. There is a built-in culture challenge to implementing big data in government. Not only in government, also actually in the public sector in general. Bureaucratic culture. Many countries have very long traditional bureaucratic cultures, silo-based, pipeline cultures. Even if there are some modernization effort, culture cannot change easily. This is a very critical challenge of the big data in government. So I suggest some strategies for success. Citizen-facing operation is very important strategic direction. We need to engage citizens meaningfully with the power of data. Engage citizens, that is very important first direction of a big data use and data-driven government. And optimize processes and outcomes with real-time insight. Optimization with the real-time insights. That's the important direction. And reducing improper payments with real-time detection. Detecting bad things, bad behaviors, wrong actions. That is get us more benefits, profits, and also opportunities. Strategy for success. Second thing is internal operations. Internally, streamlining operations by accessing real-time data, that is very important actions. Streamlining operations. Efficiency will improve the trust in government, the citizen side. Personalization, automation, visualization, and experience, citizen experience. These four things are very important strategic directions of data-driven government in the future. This is time for summary. We explored three preconditions of data-based administration. Data should be good evidence. That's very important fundamental condition. And second thing, appropriate method and appropriate data for solving the given problem. To solve this given problem, wicked problem, this method is appropriate and this data is appropriate. So right method and right data is the key to solving the problem, public problem. And we can learn from not only successful case, but also failure case. So learning from both successful case and failure case, that is very important. We have concerns around the data-driven government, privacy issues, cybersecurity issues, data sharing issues, data sharing across organizations and between sectors, and also data quality management issues. These are key concerns regarding big data and data-based administration. Okay, thank you for your attention to the module 3, third module. And I hope you understand the data-based administration, its concept and its practice and its conditions. We'll see you in the next module. Thank you. Bye.